What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of BookTube. I'm Mr. Ahamad. I'm here with a very special guest today.
Hi, London Martin. He brought me here today to talk about The Things They Carry by Tim O'Brien.
Which is a fantastic book. Now, you and I both enjoyed this.
Yeah.
I really want to talk about it. You really want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
How are we going to settle this?
We're going to do an arm wrestle. I think so. Right? We're going to settle this like men.
Yeah, let's do it. Like men.
Let's go.
All right. Let's go. All right, London, you ready?
All right.
All right, so this is the arm wrestling match. All right, we're going to determine who gets to do first impressions. Ready?
Ready?
Yep. 3, 2, 1, go. What is this thing you're doing with your hand? What is this technique? It's so good.
Fuck, Mr. Ahmed, you must work out.
Only a little. I eat more. I could have kept going, but I could have kept. I don't know. I couldn't keep going. Hey, I don't want to admit this to anyone, but I guess I have to because it's on tape. I lost. I lost. You're on the wrestling team, though, right?
Yeah. No problem. It's not.
Okay, so you get to go first. Tell us what you thought about the book.
I really like the book. The book kind of goes into a lot of different stories. It's kind of like a journal detail where it's like fact and fiction and you smush them together. It's this, like I said, this river of information and you kind of pull from it what you want. And it covers a lot of different topics, but they're all kind of similar. And it's got the Vietnam tin on it. So if you like a bunch of different stories and you like war and you're a guy and you like other cool stuff, you're gonna like this book.
Right. Now, for me, this book is so special because, one, it was a gift from one of my best friends. Two, it's the first book that I read from front to back. That didn't happen until maybe 10th or 11th grade. My AP teacher introduced it to me, so this is dedicated to Mr. Snikey. Thank you for watching if you're watching. And secondly is that this story is awesome. The thing you said about the river. Like, a river is like time. You never step into the same river twice. And when you tell stories, you change things here and there. So this book definitely taught me how to be friends with dudes and tell stories and how to heighten certain things and scale other things back. And the stories, even though Tim O'Brien tells them over and over again, is that they're slightly different each time. So every time you go to tell a story, it alters it just a bit.
Yeah, so you kind of get this variety of different stories. And it's cool because if you like guy humor, where they're making jokes with each other and it's just good soldier talk, you're going to like this book.
Wonderful. Now, London, you have a favorite story within this book.
I do.
What is it?
Now there's many of them, but my favorite was Ghost Soldier. The reason why I like this story was because it kind of goes into detail of a little bit more than most of the other stories, where most of them can kind of be like tall tales on the Vietnam War. This one's kind of an impersonal account of a little bit of revenge, but in the beginning it talks a lot about getting shot and what it's like and how difficult it can be and almost how kind of funny it is because you don't realize it, but it's funny. You get shot, you see this in films all the time, but then you realize, shit, I can die. Right. So it goes into detail about that, and it's something that's really cool to read. A little scary, really cool to read.
Now, for me personally, mine I taught in class is The Sweetheart of Sang Tra-Bang, where this guy brings his girlfriend over from the States to this part of Vietnam where not much is happening. And the way you described it is that she got addicted to what was there, right?
Kinda, so it's usually you got the war-torn guy that becomes insane, kind of like, if you ever seen Apocalypse Now, where this guy goes crazy, kind of like that, but with a Vietnam soldier's girlfriend, which is this cool little twist on the story.
Which was so interesting to me because they had this line about you gotta not be sexist and you just gotta think is that war will do that to someone. So I always think, I don't know, I know you want to go to the military, but for me that wasn't an option. I was a little afraid, but when I read the story, I was like, war will turn anyone into a soldier. So tell me why, now this is where we drift away from the book a bit, we want to make a text to self-connection. Why do you want to go to the military?
I want to go to the military because I feel like I feel like things, especially when it comes to voting, we don't respect it enough as citizens, and I feel like when things are given to you, especially my mom always says, if I give you a car, you're not going to respect it as much as if you work for one. I disagree. Mom, please give me a car. But I also understand where she's coming from. It's kind of like, if I put my time in, whether it's just a year mopping decks on a ship, or you're serving 10 years out in combat, what you're doing is you're kind of, staking your claim, earning your time, kind of putting in the work. And I feel like if every citizen did this, not only would our military be on the up, and everyone would kind of have more of a self-respect, but instead of going and dividing into these groups, we'd all be united kind of under this, this being an American. And I feel like that would just be nothing but good for everybody else.
That's actually not a bad way to look at it. I've never thought of it that way, so I can totally appreciate that. London, I feel like in conversing with you in class from the beginning of the year to now, what I have learned about you is that we're very similar in that you and I were not big readers at this time.
Definitely not.
Right? Yeah. So like when I was your age, I wasn't reading anything. If it wasn't a comic book or a video game magazine, I wasn't reading it. But this book changed that for me. So tell me about that. Is that the same for you?
Kind of. I mean, I've always never been a big reader ever. Like just to read even like a magazine, like you said, it was just difficult for me. I just don't like it. Why would I want to read something when I can throw some headphones on, listen to an audio book, or I can watch a video on YouTube, or just get the same amount of information in a quicker amount of time. But at the same time, you can also realize that when you're looking at a film and when you're hearing stuff in your head, it's not as cozy feeling when when you're sitting down, you don't hear anything, you're just alone, and you're just kind of reading something. And I think that your imagination is way more insane than anything they can do in Hollywood. So if you take the time to read, your imagination will play a bunch of crazy shit on you. And this book is the fuel for that fire.
I don't even have to say anything to that because that was well said. That was perfect. So tell me now what I want to know. We discussed this whole thing about war. We discussed this thing about truth, and we discussed storytelling. What would you rate this? Would you recommend it even?
I would recommend this book, especially. I mean, if you like horror books and you like thrillers and you like action and you like actually some comedy too, you're definitely gonna like this book. That being said, if you want like a huge overarching story, or you're strictly a fiction and you just want to read the specific details of the Vietnam War, I would suggest you go read up on the Vietnam War before you read this book, because I feel like if you have a background in knowing what you're talking about, you'll be able to pick apart the actual information, and there's a little hints and little like Easter eggs you throw throughout the book, which you'll appreciate a lot more if you understand a little bit more about the Vietnam War. But definitely, like I said, it's up there with the books I don't read, but it's definitely, I recommend. From a non-book guy to everyone else, I recommend.
Definitely read it. And this is something that I learned when I taught this book last year, was that this is how Tim O'Brien dealt with his PTSD from the war. And for anyone who's struggling with something that they can't get over, is that writing, using your creative potential and tapping into that can allow you to overcome things that may have gave you an issue. So yeah, the things they carry, as London has told us,
By Tim O'Brien.
is a thing. It's a story worth sharing.
And you should read it. 10 out of 10.